Guys, I get it. Staying track on your author goals and really staying focused as an author can be so tough, especially when we live in a world with so many different shiny objects and when we are plugged into this online environment where so many people are recommending that you do all of these things. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing my very best tips on staying focused towards your author goals so that you can actually begin to make some progress. Hey, I'm Britt from Thriving Scribes, where I help indie fiction authors build sustainable author careers. So if you are a fiction writer who is looking to build a thriving author business, this is the channel for you. Please smash that like and subscribe button and let's get into today's content. Now, the very first tip that I have for you today, which won't come as much as a surprise if you have been following me for a while, is to when you are setting your goals, right, you want to make sure that you are breaking those down and creating a schedule that allows you to hit that goal, that allows you to fit in the focus time necessary to get that goal done. Now, I talked a little bit about this in 2 videos ago, I think. I'll show it here on the screen for you so you can go and check that out. But I recommended that when you are creating your schedule and breaking down your goals, that you do it immediately, right? You do it like right now. If you have not done it yet, go and put focus time on your calendar right now. Non-negotiable, guys. All right? Because the fact is that when you say, "Oh, I will, I'll fit this in here or there, I'll get it done when I can get it done," that you're going to keep pushing it off, that you're really not going to be able to find enough time that you need to get that focus time in and get those things done, right? If you are not making it a priority to begin with, then you are not going to be making it a priority, in the future. So make it a priority, get those focus sessions in your calendar now, and then you are already taking that first step, putting that best foot forward to stay focused and to actually work on those goals. And if you do go and watch that video that I mentioned just a minute ago, you'll also learn about the good, the better, and the best way to actually get focus time into your calendar. So go give that a watch at the end of this video if you need help in that area. Let's move on to tip number 2 here, which is to implement white space. Now, white space is another term that I like to use for free time, something where you are not scheduling anything in your calendar. And this tip is specifically for those of you who are still kind of living in that hustle culture type of um, way of approaching business where you think you have to be on all of the time, working all of the time, producing all of the time, and you're not giving your brain the time to decompress, have some free time, and have some time where you're not trying to force it to be focused. All right, so it's kind of like the opposite of tip number 1 here, and these tips are really for 2 different type of people. So this tip is specifically for those of you who are not allowing yourself to have that free time and turn your brain off, because scientific studies have showed us that our brain really cannot focus for extended periods of time. So if you are trying to work from like morning to evening and you're not giving yourself any rest time for your brain, you're really not truly as focused as you think you are, and you have wasted a lot of time throughout your day. So make sure you're giving yourself and your brain some time to decompress, some time to relax and enjoy. Pick up a hobby, right? Go and watch Netflix. Yes, I am a Netflix binger. I do that. I love to do that. Find something that you love to do that allows your brain to not have to work constantly, and put that space in your calendar. If you have to make an appointment for free time, do it. My third tip here is to set up an accountability system. Now, accountability can look lots of different ways. So, there are internal accountability systems that we can set up for ourselves, and there are external accountabilities that we can set up for ourselves. But the perk to accountability is that it gives you that little bit of extra motivation to actually get something done. So, let's talk about a few different ways that you can actually implement some accountability systems for yourself. So if you have a certain goal and you need to reach that goal by a certain time or whatever, whatever it is that your goal currently is, some internal accountability systems that you could set up for yourself here would be things like setting up a reward system. So maybe once you reach your goal, you've promised yourself that you get to do something fun or that you'll buy yourself something that you've been looking at and you really want for yourself. And so that's that extra bit of drive to actually get that goal completed and get that whatever it is that you're working on done. You could also break that up into miniature rewards. So let's say that if you every day, let's say that you just have a goal of something like writing 1,000 words a day, and that's going to be your goal. So what you could do is say, pick something that you enjoy, something that maybe is a treat. Maybe it's a cup of coffee, maybe it's a candy like a Hershey's Kisses or something. And what you could do is say, okay, if every day, once I hit my 1,000 words, I can give myself that treat. And so that internally is another accountability system that not only creates accountability, but also builds habits. And so by doing that and by telling yourself, once I hit my 1,000 words for the days, I get rewarded, your brain is going to be prepared for that and it's going to be ready for that and it's going to push more to get that done because it wants the same treat that you do. Switching to the other hand of external accountability, this could look like having an accountability partner, right? So somebody that you have an agreement with, that you check in with each other along your goals as you reach your goals, and you just help support each other in staying accountable. This could also look like things like a sprinting group if you need more accountability for actually getting writing done. So maybe this is a word sprinting group or a co-working group where you guys meet virtually and sprint together. That community accountability aspect can be really helpful in getting things done. Maybe you decide that for your accountability, you want to connect with a coach or a mentor who is going to hold you to the goals that you set and keep you on track and reminding you constantly that this is what you set out to do, and so here's what you need to do today in order to get that done. My next tip here is to adjust as you go along. Now, this one is important because it's a little bit contradictory to what mainstream suggests. Now, don't get me wrong, I love having a plan. When I have a plan, I have more mental clarity as well as more headspace for inspiration. And that's where this tip really comes in. So, being able to adjust when you are feeling called to experiment with something a little bit differently, or when the plan that you previously created isn't feeling aligned anymore, is really important. Now, this is not permission to go and dive headforward into every single little shiny object that comes your way, but it's more of an invitation to make those adjustments, follow your intuition, and make the tweaks that will allow what you're doing to feel more aligned and to come more easily and naturally. That way, you are having improved results. My next tip here is to minimize distractions. When you are really deep into a project, maybe you have an upcoming deadline or something, one of the very best things that you can do for yourself is to put your blinders on. Sometimes this can look like muting your social media feeds or even unfollowing people who are talking about topics that are unrelated to what you are currently focusing on at that moment in time. This could also look like making the intentional decision not to opt in for any more freebies, not to opt in for any more guides or classes, or enroll in any more courses that are not specifically related to the project that you are currently pursuing. So, for example, here, if your current focus is getting your author website built, but you are on social media following certain people who are talking about things like maybe character development or writing serials or doing Instagram for, as an author, selling books through ads, right? You are going to start feeling those little nudges to start splitting your focus from what you are trying to achieve right now and exploring those different avenues. So instead, what you could do is say, I'm going to give myself 90 days to block out the noise and focus on getting this specific project done. And if I need the extra help, then I can reach out and get it. But for now, this is what I'm focusing on, and this is where all of my mental headspace is going to be put, right? My next tip here is to avoid multitasking. The truth is that multitasking is a productivity killer. Did you know that every time you jump to a new task that your brain has a decrease in processing and cognitive function? So the more you are able to stay focused during a given time period, the more likely it is for you to have a higher quality of output and even have a decrease in the chances of overwhelm. So what this could look like in real life is grouping your tasks together and only focusing on one thing at a time. So for example, let's say that you have a focus session where you're going to be focusing on writing. During that focus session, it would be important for you to actually focus on writing the entire time instead of doing, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes tidying my desk, then I'll do 10 minutes of writing, I'm distracted, and then I'm going to scroll Facebook for 5 minutes, and then I'm looking out the window for another 5 minutes, and then maybe I'll write again, right? That's a lot of switching from tasks and not a lot of focus on the writing. And so if you were to actually spend that full time writing, you would have a higher quality of output, and you would actually have a less likelihood of feeling overwhelmed later. My final tip here is to spend some time doing reflection. Taking the time to reflect on your progress and your focus can reveal so much information on how you work and how you can improve the way that you work. So, in a smaller day to day sense, this could look like after every work session that you do, you could ask yourself to rate the effectiveness of that focus session and your level of focus on a scale of 1 to 5. So, were you at a 1 where you were feeling maybe not so focused and you were distracted a lot? Or are you rating yourself more towards a 5 and you were really focused and you were able to get a lot done? And then you'd want to ask yourself why. And doing this can allow you to make better decisions going forward when it comes to your work focus time. And in a bigger sense, having something like a weekly reflection session or a quarterly reflection session will allow you to do some reflection, get some feedback, and really reveal what might need to change in your schedule, in your focuses, or in different other aspects of your life in order to improve your quality of work and how you feel doing that work. Speaking of quarterly reviews, on June 30th, I'm hosting a quarterly strategy session for authors. It's going to be a working workshop where I walk you through my signature method to do a 360 review of your author business and set your goals for the next quarter and break those down into manageable pieces. You'll leave the workshop with an actual action plan in your hand that you can execute to have a really productive quarter in authorship. So, if you want to join me in getting your quarterly action plan created for your author journey, then you can find the link in the description of this video. It's going to be only $27 to grab your seat, so I hope to see you there. And if you want to learn how to actually maximize your productivity in authorship and maximize your focus that you planned here and you made the time for here in this video, then definitely go and watch the video that you see up on your screen right now, because in that video, I'm going to be sharing with you my best tips for planning and productivity. See you there.